Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Alana James, and this is just a quick conversation about acclimating or acclimatizing to graduate school. It may be useful for those that are in the process, as it may have a few ideas of things you didn't think about or maybe not from this perspective. So let's just go quickly through these ideas in the hopes that we help all of you be more secure in your graduate school experience. I think it's good to start with a reflective question. When you think of your graduate or postgraduate, if you're in the Europe and the rest of the world experience versus that of your bachelor's or level 7 or 8 experience, what do you think of as the differences? And then what has your process been like as you've been moving to being appropriate to this new context called graduate or postgraduate education? That leads us to then, what challenges would you tell others to watch out for? And so as you go through these, hi, Caden, thanks for being with us. We're just starting. As you go through these, then think of other things that perhaps we should add to the slides next time, or things that you think are worth taking away. So if you haven't started yet, or you are starting, those in the room, if you have a moment, just please type in a few challenges that you've noticed as the difference between your bachelor's degree or your original 7 or 8 level degree, if you're in Europe, and now in graduate school. And as they're typing, our goals are to share experiences with each other and to understand the hows in order to navigate these waters. And as we'll go forward, we'll uncover the most important parts of this discussion. Agenda then is from an old email, from an old one that did a new one. We'll start with general agreed upon differences between undergrad and graduate, postgraduate school. So, and at the end, I'm giving you the resources. Some of these people are quite interesting. Adrian comments that at the master's level, things were more or less the same as when they were doing bachelor's, but much more hands-off at the doctoral level. Exactly. Increased independence. And with that, often and higher stress, more exhaustion, greater need to be resilient. Some would say it's more like an apprenticeship, where another author suggested it was more like a full-time job. And this, I think, is what Adrian is getting to. Professors are not as likely to explain the underlying components of thought as they were when they were in earlier parts of education. So you've kind of grown used to somebody leading you by the hand through this thought leads to this thought leads to this thought, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into high-level substantive conversations and not necessarily enough underpinning to understand exactly where you are. And that can lead to people feeling confused and unhappy, and it can bring up imposter syndrome or other insecurities where we feel like, oh, we really shouldn't be here. No, that's not it. It is more that we need to learn how to go out on our own and research the basics when we become confused, rather than just keep trying to swim in particularly turbulent waters. So you have to be able to critically analyze what you hear, what you read, and what you say, and what others say in class. And you probably notice that right away, that the professor will bring up a topic, and those people who are comfortable with critical analysis will jump in and they'll have comments, and other people will bring in other literature. And for those who are not familiar with or have an easy time with that skill, you may find yourself being more quiet than you want to be, and wondering how is it that you interject yourself into this kind of critically poignant discussion. So, and then you may find that a lot of people will give you a path to finish, and you may feel like there's some tension there. So the people who write about the agreed upon differences between bachelor's education and higher education will tell you to follow your own path. And the most successful students are those who are forthright and maybe a little pushy, and they know just where they're going and why they're going there. They set up their own agendas and they hold to those agendas even though there's tension against them. Those would be the ones that the supervising professors would say, oh, just get out of their way. These people will finish. But that doesn't really give credence to the fact that there's a wide range of ways that people cope with graduate school. It's a very big mountain to climb. It puts you in touch with and flies in the face of everything you think you know about yourself. There's not a person who goes through it without feeling some ups and downs, and we'll talk more about that as we go forward with this discussion. So the first things are that it's a lot more work, that you expect to have the work is given to you, and you have to be more independent to figure out your way through it. Also, in the classes and on campus, there are some differences. There's more diversity in age, language, and background of fellow students. There may be a greater need for you to be able to build your own tight social groups, and a definite suggestion that the more diverse those groups are, the more that network of fellow students will help you through. Consider the breaks between classes something other than time off. In earlier parts of university life, students would go on holiday, and now they catch up when it comes to things like spring break. They put the catch-up classes in those periods of time, the ones that help you stay current with your either your classwork or your research. And not all learning, in fact, maybe 50% of the learning is in the classroom, even if you're on what is called in the European continent a structured PhD, where you do have classes, and those classes do help you through the process, but the learning still goes on really outside of the classroom when you're confronted with your particular research and the people, the library, the labs, the other things that go on in your field that you're now very much a part of. So looking at this just basic outline, we can see there's some research, the Dunning-Kruger effect, which said that you come into university and you have low confidence about your ability to work within the subject. And then you get a lot of confidence when you hit the program. You really get excited about what you're learning. You're just very much gung-ho. And then from that, you run into all the things you don't know, all the things you thought you could build on that you said, and then it turned out not to be very right. And you feel, he calls it the valley of despair. And so, now I don't know anything. And then slowly but surely, knowledge, and experience build wisdom, and you begin to do your own research, craft your own project, and then get up to a plateau where you kind of know how smart you are and how good you are at your field. And in certain cases, you're quite confident. In other cases, you're very happy to say, well, this isn't my level of expertise. So let me just stop there. This was the beginning of the conversation, and ask the people in the room if this is what you've experienced so far. Caden, I don't know you. Are you a master's degree or a PhD? And is this ringing a bell? Are we on the same masters? And is this your experience, or Adrian suggested that at the master's level, it still felt very much like a bachelor's degree? Where would you stand on that continuum? So it is different for different people. And Adrian, do you think I've hit the main tension places, or am I missing something? And then we'll go into what people suggest are the good things to do about it. Excellent. So you enjoy writing. Whoa, that's actually, you do have it easier. If you enjoy writing, and you have a lot more writing now, don't you? That's either a tension or a pleasure. So you're a lucky person. It's on the pleasure side. Oh, throws your advisor off a little. Well, that's good. It's good for advisors to be thrown off a little. What would you say are the hardest parts then? If you enjoy writing and academic writing isn't throwing you off, what has caused your sense of difference? And Adrian, you're someone who enjoys writing as well. Time frame for graduation has been the hardest part. Okay. So we'll have a self-rediscovery journey in your opinion. Okay. This is excellent conversation. You guys may have me redoing my slides, but you're right on both cases. So let's see what approaches. And Kate and I will talk about the time management thing. It didn't get included, but I think this slide goes to Adrian's point about self-rediscovery. And if you're a person who likes to rediscover yourself and launch yourself in a new way, then there's nothing better than graduate school, especially the PhD. But wherever you are, seeing as how we looked at the last slide, you do come in and you love the first learning. There's something in human nature about loving to take on a new challenge and feel confident in it. And then there are some hits along the way, and then we do grow and get to be better. So if we can follow that same path or any path, but catch the enjoyment pieces as we go, then I think that's a major outcome. So when you are feeling confident, when things do feel good, when you just had a class and you learned something exciting and your head is just buzzing with possibilities, just enjoy that buzz, capture it, revel in it, write about it, whatever it takes. Hang out with friends and talk about how good it feels, because those times will help you through the times that are less secure. And one of the things that this group has said over and over and over again is that all the things on the web now that help with meditation are very useful. One student brought us the app Calm, C-A-L-M, and whenever things are in the pits, then find the tools it takes to feel better. So how do we feel better when it's not good? Well, for one thing, the idea of perfectionism, it's just going to be an impossible dream, because no matter who we are, no matter how smart we are, no matter how much time and effort we take into making everything as perfect as it can be, when you are in super complex situations, there is no way you're ever going to meet the absolute perfectionism goal. So give yourself a break and let go of that, and then chart your course through as strong and as solid as you can be at any moment, but with kindness to yourself when you don't quite hit all the marks you would like to hit, because you're taking on big complexities. Be prepared from the beginning for it to shift your life. So it does take up more time. And Caden suggested that a hard time has been keeping in the time frame for graduation. And part of that is trying to do it all. So take a good look. One thing that works is to take a good look at your whole life, not just your graduate life, but your whole life. And then say, okay, for this period of time, what things can be considered non-essential activities? And how, if I plot all of my time, do I still have enough time to get the work done that I need to get done? And if I think I do, and then I fall short, what is taking me longer than I thought it would? So, for instance, in my life right now, I'm up against one of those challenges with data. Data takes much longer than I ever planned for it to take. It seems like I should be able to do this, move this, organize this, and it goes. And the next thing I know, hours and hours and hours have gone by. Lesson for me is to leave more time and not leave data activities up until the very end. So we all have to self-adjust those kinds of lessons as we go through. However, one of the things you don't want to give up is healthy habits. So self-care is important. This is not a time to drink coffee all day and all night, do 24 hours, and just keep pounding and pounding and pounding, because then we can run into somewhat severe physical disorders. So keep ourselves, our body, mind, and spirit in health, and keep at it. So if we don't win it one day, we get up and we do it the next. If we didn't get it done and something we are disappointed in ourselves about, just let that go and have the strength to get up the next day, the week, the year, because it's perseverance and resilience that win the degree, not anyone sticking to any one type of outcome. When we are having difficulties with perseverance and resilience, don't let negative self-talk get us down. So not an imposter, not a failure, not stupid for not understanding how long it was going to take, not. Falling into those things, it's a very hard task. And never does anybody get through it sailing, no matter what it looks like from other people. And one way to keep things getting stronger and stronger is to engage in continuous professional development. Little bit of time off to do a webinar, to sign up for something, to just take an hour here or there to refresh yourself, gain motivation, hang out with other people, and keep moving yourself along as well as your habits. Raise your hand if you're in the room and one of these hits as sort of important to you. Good. I'm glad to see it. This is the kind of thing we just need to give ourselves a little time to remember. So more approaches, and this has to do with succeeding not only the journey, but after the journey. If you're not familiar with the World Economic Forum, 10 required skills for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, those are the 10 skills we all need to be consciously building. So we have 2 box sets at Doctoral Net, one that's the cognitive tools and one that's the attitudinal skills. Go look at them, make sure you know them. Every single one of them is more in depth than we would have thought. Dr. Marie and I did them last summer, and we were struck by how much more there were to each one of these skills than we had originally thought. So well worth keeping in mind, not just where we are now, but where we're going. And if we keep that in mind, then we bring in these other skills just in time to have them when we really need them, which is after graduate school as much as in. And along that line, build your network. People here at Doctoral Net that are all over the world, people by going to conferences, joining ResearchGate, being part of LinkedIn, academia.edu. If you're in the room and you have other social networks, write them in and I'll mention them out loud. It's really good time to spend a little time building your network so that when you're ready to step out on it, because it isn't our first level contacts that usually pay off for us in the job market. It's our second and third level contacts. That's actually the process upon which LinkedIn is built. So strategically read books and articles is another way to get through. Somewhere along the line, I think we all have to lose the idea that we read every word. We look at what we're going to read and figure out what we need to get out of it, and then we go through looking for what it is we wanted out of that book or article. So it's sort of skimming, it's sort of plotting our own course. It's something right in the middle there. And when we're up against something new, a new kind of writing, a new kind of critical analysis, a new anything, go out and take the time to look for models about how others do it before we just throw ourselves in and try to figure it all out on our own. Welcome. If you've just joined us, it is being recorded, and the rest you'll be able to go back and see what you've missed. There are also slides. Handouts are up in the handout section. Many graduate students work for the university. And if that is your situation, if part of your support for being at university is a TA-ship or a teaching, then, or you're working in a lab as part of someone else's research, there are some guidelines that everyone might want to keep in mind. One is to get clear expectations about the work, the time expected, etc. Some of these jobs are very easy. They don't take up much work. Some of these jobs, as is the PhD comic, the professor just thinks that you should be able to work evenings, weekends, 24 hours, 60, 70 hours a week. So don't let yourself be abused by that. Get it set up as to just exactly how much work is required, and have a good working relationship with the people that under which you are a contract. And if you're teaching, learn to love teaching. There are parts of it that are challenging, lots of papers to grade, those kind of things. But it's also really good to have an excellent, interesting conversation with people who say something unexpected. So, and if you see anyone work in a situation where you don't think they're being well treated, please be the voice of helping them understand that doesn't need to continue. So there's a funny meme about graduate school, what my friends think I do, what my parents think I do, what my boss thinks I do, what society thinks, what I think, and then what I actually do. So hopefully graduate school is somewhere in the middle of all that, maybe focused on the gold star. What do you think of the gold? So comments, questions from people in the room before we go on to our third section, which is really a to-do about the skills. Raise your hand if you're typing. No, looks okay. I promised us a short session today. But I do have a number of pages, so that's why the handouts may be important for you, about where you might go if any of the skills of this work are more strenuous than you thought you would. So, for instance, these are all Doctoral Net, Master's Net links. If you're having trouble getting writing started, then the 30-day writing challenge is good. If you want to increase your academic skill at writing, then I suggest you go for the opt-in for either Friday for the 10-day writing challenge, which is the top one, 10-day academic writing boost, excuse me. The second to the bottom one is Friday academic writing emails. They're more along the lines of a gentle set of ideas that keep us thinking about our writing in an objective way. So we've got 3 good tools. The 10-day writing boost, that's up just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10 days. And each one is pretty intense set of things to think about and maneuver through to increase our writing. The Friday ones are pretty gentle, just little hints here and there, just something to look at. And the 30-day writing challenge is a 5-minute video with the intent of getting your writing started that day. So that's you taking your own challenge. In addition to that, we have box sets, one on academic writing for masters. Actually, it looks like I have the same box set up there twice. There is also a research academic writing for PhDs. Critical thinking box set on critical reading, thinking, writing, and analysis. Actually, critical thinking has many skills as part of it. So there's a number of videos on that. Then we've done some 5-minute pieces. That's part of the writing challenge, but that second tab is that. Gives you just that one 5-minute video, which is really easy and clear. And then the bottom one is a webinar that was for on just what is critical thinking and how do we include it in our lives. Again, it looks like I doubled up on one of my resources in the middle. Research design, again, there's a box set on research design. That's the one at the top is the one for PhDs. Choosing your methods is a topic into itself. Of course, any of your university sites, the menus at the top, phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, are all about how all the different components of research design just goes on and on and on this topic. There's a milestone checklist, and then, of course, there's a textbook. So, and the other thing is then keeping our lives together. And here's a series of sources about work-life balance. I like the 30-day challenge to get our lives together, but there's a good box set too. So just to tell you that there's lots of things about these topics and to give you the reasons for them. And then I'm closing today with 3 people who wrote on graduate school versus the rest of life and how you cope. Each one of them had many suggestions that I didn't include because I wanted today to be just a quick overview and then to see what you needed, and then we could talk specifically about that. So people in the room, I'm going to turn off the recording for people not here. Thank you for watching by recording. And people in the room, what's been the biggest challenge